So now that we've kind of built our forecast, we have our goals for like next year. It's time to kind of put the team together. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this. I think this is more of a kind of, for the audience, more of a guiding principles when you kind of build a team. There is no SMB in this. It was kind of more like mid-market to enterprise strategic, but something for you to think about, right? Like when you start assigning those accounts, right? Like this is the time, November, December, where there's like the new account management, where you make sure like all of the accounts are being assigned to the right sellers. Just keep in mind, kind of from a capacity standpoint, what that means. So I've added some numbers there around like mid-market, how many accounts can be tied to each seller, same thing for enterprise and strategic. Another thing here that is not mentioned is really thinking about, depending on your strategy, right? Like if you're doing more like kind of like account-based strategy, to think about who are the ultimate parents and the subsidiaries. So you can start like, for example, like strategic, Alexander may own like 5 to 10 strategic, let's say 10. Those are probably like the ultimate parents. So then does your CRM actually ties all of the subsidiaries to those 10 ultimate parents? That's a foundation piece, right? Like where are those things coming from? Like how do you enrich that? How do you make sure that you have full visibility around ultimate parents and subsidiaries? Because you don't want to be in a position where, let's say Alexander owns like ultimate parents being Amazon, and then Jeremy goes out and start working with Whole Food as a subsidiary. Right? We don't want to be in that position, right? So that should be under like Alexander. So like all of those things, again, that's an infrastructure standpoint, but something for you guys to think about. Then the next piece is, again, industry verticals. Depending on how large your team is, you may want to be very specific. Again, this is usually when you have at least a dozen sellers. You start really kind of digging into like industry and verticals. So it could be that Alexander owns like all the tech verticals and Jeremy owns like all the kind of banking verticals, and that's kind of the skill sets there. Another one is like the white space. So think about like their kind of book of business. Usually we recommend like 10 to 15x of white space. So it's really based also on your win rate. So I just added like an example here where the win rate for, let's say, on a 1 million quota is like 10%. So anything like that is kind of qualified as an opportunity through like all the stages, like 10%. That means that this person should always, throughout the year, have an open book of business of like 10 million. If that person wants to hit the goal. So you could obviously add like more cushion to it and get to like 15 million. Then there is the pipeline breakage. Maybe some of you are going through this right now. So what does it mean is, as you start shuffling accounts around, you just have to be mindful around like which accounts. I call it like, I should have kind of stated it here, but it's kind of like the art and the science when it comes to pipeline breakage. It's kind of like we call it like kind of like an 80-20. We try to do the math, but there is like the art to it. So if Alexander has Amazon or a subsidiary of Amazon in a certain stage, right? Like we may not want to move that to another seller. Another one is to limit the breakage, right? Because that could be also like a morale issues. So you want to limit kind of the breakage to like 50% was probably high, but maybe in the 30-40%, because they've worked with those clients. But change can be also good, right? Maybe if they haven't had any activities with those accounts for 3 to 6 months, there'd be no reason to like continue to kind of change that. And I actually talked about the account migration, which was like the ultimate parents and subsidiary. Very important to kind of again like set the infrastructure in the CRM, make sure your reps are set up, they have visibility around their pipeline, they know how to go to them, right? Because they are being enriched. And also think about like what information you need I'm going a little deeper here, but what information is relevant to the business, right? Like there's a lot of like what they call like signals these days, right? Like what signals are important to then be captured in the CRM, and then RevOps can actually build some workflows around it every time it happens. It doesn't have to be an email, but it could be just like some sort of like setup where the rep is alerted that maybe someone moved from one company to another and we should reach out to them.